just like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, if he is somehow got elected into the office of presidency, he's not a driver. She's not the driver. She's a rider on the bus. It's still the deep state that's keep running things. I mean, nobody believes Biden is actually calling the shots, coordinating the U.S. grand strategy around the world, right? We know that it's a deep state that's running the show. And this is why they also want Kamala Harris to be their front person.
Hey, Carl, how's it going, my friend?
Hi, Rasheed. Good to see you again.
Yeah, man, it's good to see you, Carl. What is going on with this political crisis in America and the lunacy of Joe Biden and his circus and sideshow?
Oh, last time we talked was a week ago, and what a week it has been. First, we had the failed Trump assassination, and now we have this whole circus around DNC trying to get Biden to step. Well, they did. They got Biden to step down, but it was so obvious Biden didn't want to go. He was dragged screaming from from going for another term. But the fact is, if they're saying Joe Biden is unfit to run for another term, does that mean he's fit to be the president now? I mean, like, if they have a problem with him to have a second term, he still have 6 months left.
Mr. President, how are you feeling?
Mr. President, how are you feeling?
How are you feeling?
How are you feeling?
Well, come talk to us.
Come on.
How are you feeling since you dropped out of the race, sir?
How are you feeling about Harris's campaign?
Can Harris beat Trump?
Can Harris beat Trump, Mr. President?
I mean, he potentially could do a lot of damage in those. I mean, he already done a lot of damage, but he could do even more damage. Now he's very angry at being forced out by some of his supposed allies, including Obama. Everybody's pressuring him to go, and the way they did it is they leak it to the major news network. So everybody now knew Biden didn't want to go, but he was forced to go. I mean, it's very embarrassing. And people, there was a Twitter person, China handle on X. He made a very interesting observation. He said he thinks the reason Biden is fighting to stay in the presidency is really to cover for his son Hunter, because Hunter is going to be prosecuted for corruption if Trump becomes the president, and it's very telling that when everyone is telling Biden to go, Hunter is very, very much telling his dad to stay in place, stay the course, because his ass is on the line. And I think that's very logical. I mean, it makes total sense. All these liberals are coming out out in the open, making a complete ass of themselves, crying over Biden giving up his position. You had Van Jones crying on.
Even people who are pushing for this to happen, it's kind of like when your grandpa, you got to take the keys, and everybody, you got to take his keys, you got to take his keys, you got to, and he's fighting, and everybody's so frustrated, and then you finally get the keys back, and then you just cry, because this is somebody that you love, this is somebody that you care about, this is somebody who was there for you, this is somebody you wouldn't be here without him, and you have to take something from him. Now, this is not, look, politics is politics, but this is a human moment for one of the great humans in America. This is a huge moment for him, for his family, for all of us who love him, for all of us who wanted him to get across the finish line. But if you're a young person watching this, this is leadership. This is patriotism. This is what it means to put the country first, and put the party first, and put the cause first. When your arm gets tired, you let somebody else finish pitching the game. That's what Joe Biden has done, and he's done that for all of us. And so I just want to say, I don't know who's going to be the VP, the non-VP. I don't know anything about politics. I just know that I love this man. I care about this man. It was painful every day to sit up here and talk about him like he's just a, some problem for the party. Wait till we get to the convention. You're going to see people crying, standing, screaming, cheering. He may not get a chance to talk for 10 minutes. We finally get a chance to put our arm around this guy. He did the right thing for this country. He did the right thing for this party. All of us are going to be in this situation someday, and I hope that we take a moment to honor this man and to love this man. I love Joe Biden. I appreciate what he's done, and a lot of people are heartbroken today. Even if it's the right thing, it's still just horrible.
A major network. I mean, like, who are you kidding here? This is a performance. Everybody knows the performance. So why do you continue to embarrass yourself like that? There's a Chinese professor, an ethnic Chinese professor at MIT Sloan School of Management, by the name of Yasen Huang. I mean, his whole shtick since 2000 has been saying India is going to surpass China because India is a great democracy and China is not, right? I mean, 20 years later, he's still saying the same thing. He has a tweet. Let me find the tweet. I actually quote tweeted it. And he's just like Van Jones, man. Like Van Jones broke down on air. But Yasen Huang wrote a tweet. He said, I have not cried for years, but I'm crying uncontrollably now. I feel so proud of my adopted country that has a leader so selfless, so dedicated for the good of the country. I mean, are you kidding me? What's wrong with these people? What is wrong with you guys? Like, everyone knows Biden was forced out, and he didn't want to go, and they're still trying to concoct this fiction that Biden selflessly gave himself up for the country to have a better future. Are you kidding me? Obama have to step in and tell Biden, you have to step down. And this is another thing relate to what we talked about last time. U.S. go around the world lecturing people on democracy and freedom. And here we are, the president of the United States, the greatest democracy on earth, is being forced behind the closed door to have to step down, to have to give up his bid for re-election. Nobody voted on this, by the way. I mean, nobody's gonna vote for Biden anyway. But this is all done behind closed door, and they decided, Kamala Harris is gonna be our next candidate. Who voted for it? Besides all the Democrats, big shots, like all the guys manipulating behind the scene. And this is supposed to be a democracy. I'm just curious how Hillary is feeling at this moment. When DNC chose Kamala Harris, right? Be interesting to see if Clinton is going to make a bid to either for the VP position or to be on the cabinet of Harris again. This will be interesting.
I have something that I think about the situation. I believe that in some of the people that are the elite, they see that America's economy is going down the tube. They see her influence going down the tube. They're seeing her being challenged on every end. So I think the forcing out of Biden and the choosing of Harris was strategic. And I think because they are trying also to woo India away from the BRICS. And Kamala Harris is part Indian and she's part black. And I think it's just a more subtle way to tell Africa, look, we have a black woman. Tell Indian, hey, she's part Indian, and they can put a cooler face on imperial hubris, even though the shot callers are behind the scene, but the world will see her as America trying to rein in its imperial ambitions when in reality, she's just a puppet being moved by the puppeteers to try to buy a little more time for the empire. What do you have to say about that?
I just saw another tweet on X. Another Twitter. He's a black Canadian guy, and he said Isn't it odd? All the supposed black presidential candidates are trotting out, whether Kamala Harris or Obama, like their black part of the heritage all trace outside of the country. Their black part of heritage is from somewhere else rather than African American. I mean, Kamala Harris' dad is from Jamaica, and Obama's dad is from Kenya. What does that say? What kind of message are they sending here? It's like you're only going to be a black president if your parents are actually not American. I think you're onto something about Kamala, and they're playing off his Indian heritage, because now you have Trump's VP pick, J.D. Vance, who's married to an Indian American. They're also the Republican is also going after the Indian American vote, because the Indian American, they're the up and coming, the new the brown is the new black. Right, the Indian Americans are up and coming because they're fast growing ethnic group, and on average the Indian American household, they make highest income. They're like among the highest income learners. So the Republican is actively going after that demographic. Like they have been going after the Hispanic demographic. They're trying to chip it away from the Democratic coalition. So Kamala Harris will be the answer for that. It's like, okay, now he's not just a wife of a VP. He's going to be the president. You got to vote for her. I don't. But if you look at Kamala Harris, every time he's on camera,
you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
And as always, Wakanda forever. Paid for by Kamala Harris.
Like she's like our auntie who is always high on the weed, like the way she talks. And if you look at her poll numbers back in 2020, she was polling a single digit in the Democratic primary back in 2020. She was just barely polling ahead of Andrew Yang. She was polling like 3.5%. And we all know the reason Biden chose her to be his VP is because she posed no threat to Biden. Biden don't have to worry about Kamala, because Kamala keep on talking about what has been. Let's focus on what has rather than what has.
I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What we can see, what we believe can be, unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be unburdened by who we have been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Where we can be, unburdened by where we have been, and unburdened by where we are right now.
What the hell are you talking about? She was on television and saying, I am a black woman wearing a blue suit.
Good afternoon. I want to welcome these leaders for coming in to have this very important discussion about some of the most pressing issues of our time. I am Kamala Harris. My pronouns are she and her. I am a woman sitting at the table wearing a blue suit. And
okay, thank you for stating the facts. But we all know, just like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, if he is somehow got elected into the office of presidency, he's not a driver. She's not the driver. She's a rider on the bus. it's still the deep state that's keep running things. I mean, nobody believes Biden is actually calling the shots, coordinating the U.S. grand strategy around the world, right? We know that it's the deep state that's running the show, and this is why they also want Kamala Harris to be the front person, because she is also the perfect candidate for the deep state. While she say all those vacuous things on air, they can keep on keep on running the U.S. empire like they always do. In terms of election politics, I mean, the Democrats, they did what they have to do, because there's no way Biden would win versus Trump, especially after that failed Trump assassination. No matter what you say about Trump, I don't like Trump myself, but he played that assassination attempt perfectly. He knew how to work the media. When he was about to rush off the stage, he stopped them. He's like, hey, wait. This is my moment. This is my moment to pose. Then he did the fist pumping in the air and say, fight. And then, it was a perfect picture moment. It's everywhere in the media. So he got a huge boost from that. And Biden just comes off like the zombie, who barely knows what he's talking about. So Biden has to go. And that's one advantage Kamala has. Kamala is actually, in her own words, unburdened by what has been.
Unburdened by what has been, believing in what can be. What can be, unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has. What could be unburdened by what had been.
What can be, what should be, unburdened by what has been.
And so she can say, oh, I can, despite what I say is totally meaningless, at least I make coherent sentences, unlike Biden. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought.
And a lot of the hate lately has been focused on the person of Biden, because people calling him Genocide Joe for enabling the Israeli genocide on Gaza, in Gaza, whereas Kamala is mostly stay in the background, even though we know her politics is exactly the same. She's also like rah Israel. Israel could do no wrong, but she hasn't been at the forefront. So she's kind of shielded by the fact that she hasn't done anything. So that's what they got going for her. And then there are a lot of people who actively hate Trump. So they're still counting on the possibility that those people might turn out and vote Harris in. So go ahead, sorry.
No, this is actually you also. I'm about to play a clip. You were on RT and you gave your opinion on Harris, and I'm about to play this. And I was just saying, what a beautiful time to play this as we're talking about this. I got the clip and I saved it. I said, I got to play this when Carl is on. So Carl, the people will get to hear your perspective on this a little deeper. So I'm going to play this little clip.
Well, let's learn more with RT contributor Carl Zhar now joining us bright and early on this 8 a.m. hour program live from Moscow. Very warm welcome to you, Carl. What do you think of this, mate? I mean, here we are, you and me, we're sitting back, we're watching this whole kind of crazy political circus in Washington. But what I wanted to ask you, does this circus in America make any difference for the dialogue that can be expected with partners in Washington? I mean, what is Beijing's expectations right now as they watch this ongoing circus?
I think Beijing is probably watching with amusement. I mean, they're waiting for the dust to settle in the U.S. election. So far, we have a circus. We had a failed assassination of former President Donald Trump. And then we have Biden, despite his lack of mental capacity to stay in the presidency that everybody knows about, refused to step down, refused to give up his nomination, and he had to be pressured by members within his own party, including former President Obama, to withdraw his nomination. I mean, U.S. has nothing to lecture the world about democracy and and election. I mean, when everything is done in the backroom dealing, like we have seen this weekend, Biden did not want to go. Biden wants to seek renomination, yet his parties pressure him to step down. Everything has happened behind the back doors. It was minimum public input. What we have is the people who reportedly supported Joe Biden leaked out the news to the press, to put further pressure on him. Now, as for Kamala Harris is not a very popular candidate. She, in fact, during 2020 Democratic primary, Kamala Harris was polling single digits. She was polling like 3.5%. It's just barely above Andrew Yang. So the only reason that Biden became the president is because DNC didn't want Sanders to win, and the only reason Biden chose Kamala Harris because Kamala posed no threat to Biden. And now we are in another situation where the Democratic Party just want to shoe in this very unpopular, I would say, bad candidate to be their presidential nominee.
But Carl, the whole point was, sorry to jump in, but you remember Biden said a number of years ago, my VP is not only going to be a woman, she's going to be a black woman. I mean, he was talking like this, wasn't he? So, but she, her parents, I think her father's from the Caribbean, I think her mother's from India, but they like to call her an African American, which is entirely not true. But let me ask you about foreign policy, okay? Because America, okay, look, what about 750 military bases in about 80 countries worldwide right now? So a huge military footprint worldwide. When it comes to America's foreign policy, do you think it's only up to the guy or the girl in the Oval Office? Or do you think there's a power behind the throne, an incognito power behind the curtains that's directing America's foreign policy? What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think anybody believes Biden is calling the shots. He lacks the mental capacity to do so. I mean, Biden is a perfect candidate for the deep state, and I don't think Kamala Harris will be any different. I mean, policy-wise, Kamala Harris is not significantly different from Biden. In fact, during the entire Biden presidency, Kamala Harris' appearance is more like a joke. I mean, every time he appears in public, she's high on drugs. How can we expect her to lead America into a different direction?
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. And you're not alone with that sentiment, Carl. I mean, I've been speaking to former colleagues and friends in the United States, and they're all kind of lost right now. And they all understand that the Democratic-run establishment has been lying to them. I mean, and now reactions coming in from around the world, because look, we've all known that Biden's been sick for a long time. Meantime, the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Zaharova has suggested the next step should actually be an investigation into why the American political establishment previously tried to hide Biden's health issues. And that's as the U.S. mainstream media now says the president's decision has nothing to do with his health concerns. I mean, is it just me? I just can't believe the amount of BS that comes out of Washington these days. Do you think more people are waking up to the lies that keep coming out of those inside the Beltway?
Well, I mean, every time Biden shows up in public and make a speech, the problem is plain to see for everyone, everyone who is an observer of American politics. And Biden is objectively the worst U.S. president in the 21st century. I mean, during his watch, he actively supported the genocide Israel is carrying out in Palestine, and he's waging a proxy war in Ukraine that threatened to bring a possible nuclear war in the world in the 21st century. I mean, it's a good thing that he's gone, but Kamala Harris is not any better.
Yeah, I think it's a fair comment as well, Carl. I mean, look, I've run out of time here, but I just close this with a comment. The Dems want Biden gone now, but we still got 3+ months until November. My question will be, who's at the helm? Who's driving this ship right now, and who's going to be driving it for the next 3 months? Carl, next time we talk, we will assess that as well. RT contributor Carl Jar, always a pleasure. Thank you, mate.
And Carl, going back to Kamala Harris and the DNC, I do believe that it's a play not just to shore up support for the DNC, but as I say, I believe it is also to reach out